In today's Encore feature, a great success of family mushroom business in Pennsylvania, where more mushrooms are grown than in any other state in the country. It's not one of the easiest businesses to be in, but with this kind of persistence, there's a payoff like few other. Colleen Bradford Krantz has the story.
Anyone in southeastern Pennsylvania worth their weight in maitake knows the story of how the mushroom industry began here. It's not about the area's climate, terrain, or soil.
The mushrooms all started back in the late 1800s.
When a carnation grower's son saw wasted space under the carnation beds.
In a Kennett Square city market, similar to this one in New York City.
He was very fastidious and wanted to make the best use of all the resources. Took a steamship to Europe where they were growing mushrooms in Paris. And
he brought in the mushroom spawn.
So in 1902, Swain and a fellow named Harry Hicks built the first building specifically to grow mushrooms. Industry started to take root, support companies sprung up, and it just mushroomed into what it is today.
Today, Pennsylvania is the nation's top producer of mushrooms, growing and picking 67% of the United States' 827 million pounds of the most commonly cultivated mushrooms, such as white button. California comes in a distant second, raising 11%. Chester County, and specifically the community of Kennett Square, have labeled themselves the mushroom capital of the world. The city of 6,000 holds an annual mushroom festival, serves mushroom-focused dishes in nearly every restaurant, and even has a mushroom-themed gift shop.
It's great for the economy here in Chester County, and you know, the industry probably employs 10,000 people, and it's amazing. There's always jobs. We need pickers, we need all kinds of people in the industry.
Yet it's not always an easy business. A new report from the National Agricultural Statistics Service shows the volume of all U.S. mushrooms slipping 10% over the past 3 years. Jim Angelucci, general manager of Phillips Mushroom Farms, says the startup and overhead costs are significant for those trying to get into the business. Labor, however, has perhaps been the biggest problem as some companies struggle to hire enough workers to pick their mushrooms. Like many dairy farmers, mushroom producers are not allowed to hire temporary international workers under the H-2A visa program because the work occurs year-round.
Since we grow mushrooms 24/7, 365, we're not considered seasonal. My comment is, you know, our crop's only 9 weeks long. We just elect to do it 6.5 times a year. If we don't do something, I consider it a national security issue. We've got to have labor, and we're going to lose the salad bowl in California if we don't get labor.
Phillips Mushrooms has been around for 92 years and is now the world's largest grower of exotic mushrooms. Angelucci said finding labor is still a battle for the company, even with a new state-of-the-art mushroom farm the company built just across the state line in Warwick, Maryland. Growers pick inside climate-controlled buildings with humidity and temperature set to the perfect range for mushrooms. However, that doesn't isolate the company financially from consequences of extreme weather.
We don't have to deal with the elements directly. We do. When it's 105 degrees here in the summer and our electric meters are spinning off the wall because of the electricity we're using to cool the rooms, that's a direct effect of the weather. The cost of doing business continues to escalate, the cost of compliance with the government.
The Warwick facility, where additional buildings are still being constructed, features stainless steel rather than the traditional wooden growing shelves. The complex was begun when the company decided to return to growing large volumes of white button mushrooms, which it had moved away from. The stainless steel shelves are easier to wash down when the compost, or substrate, is changed after a batch of mushrooms is harvested.
Our Maryland facility it's called the Dutch style of growing. We decided when we were going to venture back into growing white agaricus mushrooms in 2009 that we would look at state-of-the-art facilities to do that, food safety being the most important factor. So we spent a couple years going back and forth to Europe before we finally decided on the design.
The mushrooms, as they have always been, are grown in a special type of substrate. Stall bedding from a nearby horse track is used, as is old straw and hay, preventing that material from being tossed into a landfill. Some of the area's mushroom farmers own the composting facility as a shared cooperative, and the materials are blended and prepared for all. Angelucci, even before working for the Phillips, knew mushroom farming and how to work with the substrate.
My father told me when I was 9 years old to put something on the table beside my elbows. So he took me down to our friend, mushroom farmer down the end of the street, the Avello brothers, and I was a little kid on top of the pile with a hose, making sure that we had enough water in the compost to make sure that it reacted properly.
Angelucci feels good about where the company and industry are heading, particularly if the labor problem can be resolved. And recent studies point to a possible connection between eating white button mushrooms and inhibiting the development of breast cancer in older women. The Mushroom Council is encouraging Americans who are considering becoming vegetarians to instead blend chopped mushrooms into their ground meats, becoming blenditarians.
It's actually not replacing meat. Research has shown that the increase in beef, because of the blend, they have incremental sales increase because people feel better about eating it now. A blenditarian is one who believes that the meaty, mighty mushroom makes meals more nutritious, delicious, and sustainable.
If you didn't catch it, Phillips has been in business more than 90 years through 4 generations. A great family story.